this meeting of the Sherborn School Committee. Today is Tuesday, December 9th, and we are meeting in the Dover Sherborn Middle School Library, and the time is now 6:30 p.m. First on the agenda are community comments. We've provided a virtual link for those who wish to make a comment, but for whom it is not possible or preferred to attend in person. Are there any community comments?
Amelia, probably.
Amelia, maybe? Yeah, go ahead, Amelia. Thank you. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to read a thing. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay. I don't have to hear it last.
She knows? Okay.
We know what her comment's going to be.
Okay, go ahead, Amelia.
Hi, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi. I started, it's actually my 6-month anniversary in the role as sustainability manager for the towns of Sherborn and Holliston. And last week I didn't join the school committee, and this week I'm in the school committee. I am looking forward to helping work on energy saving projects and public cost saving projects part of the schools, including public health. And I have a lot of programs going on that could hopefully help parents and students as well. So if you have any sustainability project that comes top of mind, this is my door's open, let's say, and I would be happy to meet with people to discuss further. So thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Congrats on 6 months.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other community comments? Okay, great. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's comments. Superintendent McCoy.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have some general updates and then an update on our professional growth study. So first and foremost, I wanted to let the committee know that there was a request to hold parent meetings around student safety at Pine Hill School. So we did that following an all-school meeting a month ago. And we had a great turnout as it just kind of flowed right from all-school meeting into that. Lots of positive feedback. We did the same at Chickering and the region. And I'm working with the chiefs to kind of bundle all the information together to send it out to parents who weren't able to make it. And there has been a request to do additional informational sessions for parents on this topic, especially as parents themselves want to learn what to do in the case of emergency. So more to come on that. I'm not sure if any of you were at the Jill Walsh event. I can't remember. But that was a great evening from Challenge Success. She came back, as you know, she's an expert on social media and adolescents using technology. And she did a great workshop on children and adolescents interacting with bots and the pros and cons of that, and how, unfortunately, students are turning to chatbots for therapy and friendship, and all that can go wrong with that, given the fact that AI is not perfected, nor do we want it to be. So we'll be sending out a link to that, and I definitely encourage you all to watch it. It's worth every minute that she gave us. December 1st, you had your students home with you after Thanksgiving, and staff was here with us, and I just want to say thank you to Denny for running an incredible day of professional development for our staff. We had teachers from all 4 schools modeling some of the practices they're using in their classrooms. Every workshop was excellent. I tried to get to as many as I could, and the feedback from staff was just overwhelmingly positive and grateful. So we're looking forward to more of those opportunities moving forward. Congratulations, Denny.
Thank you.
Big accomplishment. Negotiations are underway. Thank you to Becca and Mega for serving on that committee. We have our next meeting on Wednesday of next week. So as news becomes official or there's anything to update you, we'll certainly schedule meetings as necessary. We've been meeting with our building leaders about building school budgets. You'll see the first version of the Sherborn budget this evening, and I want to thank Dawn for her leadership with that. And as you'll see, she knows every detail and can answer all of your questions. And lastly, if you haven't gotten your tickets to Wonka this coming weekend, I highly encourage you to do that. Every show that our students do is phenomenal, and this one is not going to disappoint as well. So please make sure you get your tickets. Otherwise, I wanted to give you an update on our professional growth study.
Go to the tab with the blue, the blue button.
Okay, great. So I will rewind in time and jog your memory about what this is. So Next slide. Nope, okay, thank you.
Should.
So over the last decade or so, we've developed a vision for the district in that we want all of our students to graduate with portrait of graduate competencies. So what that means relative to teaching and learning is that we want our curriculum to be relevant. We want our instruction to be student-centered, with them doing the hard work of thinking and understanding in the classroom, and assessments should be authentic. That said, last Monday was a great example of many of these things that are happening across the district, and I'm so proud of our educators for coming forward and sharing them. And we want these three things to be happening in every classroom across the district. So, 4 years ago, when Jenny joined our team, nothing works.
If you go to the other tab, you know, like you're in the Meet tab, if you go to the tab where the blue box is for professional growth study, the other one, and then put that in like full screen mode or whatever, then your clicker will work, or should work, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't share anything.
Now try your clicker and see if it works.
The anticipation.
Sorry.
The technology.
So we have a vision, and then when Denny joined the strategic planning process and went on a listening tour with all of the stakeholder groups, one of the things that we heard under the realm of professional growth for educators is that there's room for better instructional support for our teachers. There's gaps in professional development. It'd be beneficial to have more collaboration time between teachers, and the evaluation process should be more meaningful. So we asked some questions, and that led us to the strategic plan goal of examining the current leadership model to ensure that adequate instructional support is in place to make sure we can meet that vision that we've set in place. So what does that mean? You'll see a profile of our instructional leadership model. So Denny is the man in charge of teaching and learning for the district. At the elementary level, you have your Chickering and Pine Hill principals. They work with the instructional coaches who have been supporting curriculum and working with teachers in the classroom to adjust their practice. And then there's PLC leaders, who are teachers who teach full-time but get a stipend to work with their grade level teams to kind of be the grade level leader. At the secondary level, you have middle and high school principals. The middle school works with curriculum leaders who are full-time teachers who get a stipend to work with their department. So there's one for science, one for history, one for English, one for math, etc. At the high school, you have the principals who have department chairs who teach 4 out of 5 sections. So they teach one fewer section to give them some time, and they get a stipend to support their English, math, world language department, etc. Is this enough is the question to make that vision become a reality across all classrooms. So we looked at the model and the people in place. We looked at our evaluation system and said, what could we be doing differently to make feedback meaningful and constructive and actionable? And then is our professional development model enough? So the study that we did involved 3 components. The first was looking at Dover Sherborn educators and asking thoughtful questions. So we had a group, Athena K-12, come in. Denny and I have been trying to get this done for a couple years and just didn't have the bandwidth, so we had an agency come and be the unbiased people who collected data for us. And after talking to K-12 educators, K-12 administrators, all of the instructional leaders that you saw in that chart, we found that there are unclear expectations and uneven time for all of those leaders to get their jobs done. That principals and assistant principals are stretched really thin with kind of the day-to-day running the trains on time, that they don't have a lot of time to give teachers feedback. Our instructional coaches at the elementary level, as you know, we have 1 math and 1 literacy in each elementary school, are super valuable, but we're taxing them because they are so valuable and knowledgeable that we're diluting their capacity to be in classrooms. There's room for growth and professional learning. We want to make sure that, the goals are aligned with the feedback that teachers are getting, and that you see movement with the goals, and that the vertical articulation of our curriculum needs some time and attention. So right now, Denny is responsible for 8 disciplines across 13 grades. He is the glue that keeps all of that together with those people that you saw. And he can only carry one football at a time as a quarterback, and there's lots of projects to be done. So how can we help him be able to work in every subject at every school? We looked at literature. What does evidence and science say is best practice? And we found that teacher leaders, here they're called department chairs in terms of reading the studies, but that could be anybody at the elementary, middle, or high school who has a leadership role. But teachers who have leadership roles and instructional coaches are both super important if you want to see change in the classroom. You need both, and they're the most powerful people in the building, more powerful than principals, more powerful than Denny and me. And that districts who invest in those components and training and time and embedded feedback, that's when you start to see the change in the classroom. The third component was looking at our comparable districts, which are the same districts we look to and ask questions of all the time because they're similar in size and population. And what did we learn there? Just like us, all of these districts have an assistant superintendent who oversees all of the teaching and learning, that many of them have department heads or teachers with leadership duties and curriculum coordinators that are available to do work and have partial release time. So you heard that our elementary PLC leaders, our middle school curriculum leaders don't have any release time. They get a stipend. They're full-time teachers doing extra. The high school, they only are down one class. In many of our comparable districts, their department leaders only teach 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 classes and have a lot more time to get their jobs done. Instructional coaches, other districts are finding, are super effective, having time for teachers to work together, and as a department or grade level team with those leaders, looking at data and planning together is super important. And that, again, districts that invest in this really see results. So we triangulated that data. Most times you have a consultant in and they'll get the data, put it all together, and then give you, recommendations. And we said, don't do that. 1, it'll be cheaper for us if you don't. And 2, it'll force us to dig into this information as opposed to going to the last page of the report and only reading that. So we spent the last 6 months, literally, with the leadership team and all of those instructional leaders sifting through the focus group data, the research, and the comparable district data to say, what now? So, without a doubt, we heard loud and clear, Athena was so appreciative of the fact that and complimentary that we have teachers in this district who are skilled, who want to collaborate, and who are committed to excellence for our kids. So we have the right people in this district. But we also need to clarify instructional leadership roles and expectations for everyone. We should expand capacity for teachers, leaders to have time to do their magic. We need to continue to work on our supervision and evaluation process to make sure it's connected and effective. Work on our time for teachers to collaborate, and the vertical alignment piece, as wonderful as Denny is, he's not enough. So we're processing all the findings right now with, again, all of these people. We've sent out a survey to all of our educators, K-12, to collect information, and we will be returning back to you at the joint meeting in January with recommendations on how we should move forward. Happy to take questions or concerns.
So is adding extra people on the table as well? Okay.
Yep. There's finding time for people within existing structures. There's paying some people additional money. There's adding positions are all models that we're looking at.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's great. I'm glad you guys are doing this.
Yeah, it is.
Would this be the type of change we might make mid-year, or would this be in anticipation of the 27 budget? Okay.
Yeah, so it's good timing in terms of looking at version 1, version 2, version 3 of the budget, and if there are going to be available resources to make this happen.
Yep.
Okay, so if there's no other questions about that, then I'm going to turn the baton over to Denny to give you an update on literacy and the elementary schedules.
I guess just Nathaniel or Kimberly, do
yes,
you guys have any questions? Just I want to make sure we didn't miss you.
This is Nathaniel Jackson.
Hi, Nathaniel.
Okay, I think we're good.
Hi, how are you? I don't.
Sorry, we might have a delay. Did you have a question you wanted to ask, Nathaniel?
No, I do not.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, cool, thanks.
All right. So my update is on two things. One is our ELA program review that we began over last year and worked on over the summer, and the second is on our elementary instructional time study. So first is the ELA program review. You'll remember last year we started to think about our elementary ELA programming. We gave out a parent and caregiver survey last February and also shared a Q&A document with the community members, giving them some information on our current ELA programming. We convened a program review committee last year. We had 4 meetings. It was made up of teachers, special educators, related service providers, our ML teacher, so a wide range of stakeholders. Over the course of those meetings, we created a vision statement and criteria for what we want our elementary ELA programming to look like. Over the summer, we had some fantastic educators who took some of their time to go through a 7-page rubric and look through all of our elementary ELA programming and to fill out that rubric to see how it matched up against the criteria that the committee had established. And now we're at a place where we're making a decision on whether to keep our current programs or to move on to new programs. So that's just a quick recap. This is the vision statement. Won't read it, but we did one, so there it is. But it's posted on the Teaching and Learning website. Our major finding is based on the educator input and community feedback. We made the conclusion that units of study, which is our current ELA program, does not meet the criteria established for our literacy programming, so by the literacy team. There's some concerns related to our phonics program called Foundations, specifically relating to pacing and the sequence of the skills that students are developing. A lot of the new ELA programs that are out there embed phonics, and it's not a separate program. So as we're exploring pilot programs, we're going to see what happens with Foundations, because we could end up with a new ELA program that has the phonics embedded in it. Some of them don't have it embedded, so in that case, we would either keep Foundations with some revisions possibly, or explore another phonics program as well. Just a brief summary of the findings. So there were some things that were praised for units of study. One of the things that was highlighted was the idea of students having a lot of voice and choice, specifically through the book club structure, having independent time, and the fact that for a lot of our strong readers, it fosters a love of reading for students. A lot of teachers also expressed that they like the workshop model, they like the small group conferring time, so those are some of the aspects that the program is really strong in. Overall, though, what we found when we were going through the review is that at this point, teachers have made significant revisions to the original curriculum. We've been supplementing now for years with other materials, strategies, with information from the body of research, the science of reading. It's very similar to what happened with math when teachers were changing it so much and adapting it so much that we weren't necessarily actually doing the curriculum anymore. One of the biggest findings we had was that units of study lacks a strong systematic approach to developing students' literacy skills. So that is learning to read in the early grades, so the phonics and the phonemic awareness, and then in the upper grades, that's morphology, which is our word study, vocabulary, things like grammar. We're finding with units of study, it's not organized, and it is not leading students and sometimes teachers through kind of a meaningful and logical sequence of building skills.
Question on the changes the teachers made. Are those, like if a teacher makes a change in 3rd grade, are they sharing that across 3rd grade and all of the 3rd grade classes will then?
Yep. Yeah, it's happening during PLC meetings, like common planning time. They're definitely discussing these, and I've been part of those meetings, so they're definitely making sure that it is consistent across the grade level.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about between Chickering and Pine Hill?
They're different. One of the big differences is that Pine Hill uses units of study for its writing curriculum or writing program. Chickering uses empowering writers for its writing program. So those are completely different. The goal will be with this potential adoption to kind of unite both schools under the same programming overall.
Okay. So they're entering 6th grade with a similar baseline. Okay. Thank you.
Another thing that we found, again, kind of similar to math, units of study doesn't support a lot of our struggling readers, our students with disabilities, and our multilingual learners. Teachers wanted the program with embedded assessments. Teachers also would love a program that has the reading and writing integrated, so they're not separate programs. And overall, in terms of teacher accessibility, which is important because we want teachers to be able to access the materials, there are a lot of feedback that the units of study materials aren't very teacher-friendly and they're very dense and difficult to unpack.
How long have we been using units of study?
At Pine Hill a long time.
Since pre-COVID.
I've been here 9 years, and it was before then.
Some other factors, we know that the current body of literacy research, science of reading, doesn't support the use of units of study. Obviously, last month, the Massachusetts House approved a bill that would make it so that districts have to pick a set of literacy programming that is approved by the state. Currently, units of study is not an approved program by the state. That's going to go to the Senate, and then eventually it'll change. So who knows what that might morph into, but that is kind of the context of what's going on. And all of our comparable districts are either evaluating their programming like we had been doing or in the process of piloting new ones. So our next step, we've already begun work on convening a pilot committee to examine potential new programs. So we're going to be consulting various reviews, ed reports, and curator big ones. The Reading League also has reviews of these various programs. We've already begun surveying other districts. I've begun having meetings with assistant superintendents in other districts to see what programs they're using and what their kind of first experience is with them. And then the goal is around March to have an idea of which programs we want to pilot for next fall. Once we do that, we want to think about what the pilot structure is going to be. So how many teachers are going to be doing it, what grade levels, how long should the pilot be, all those things that we did for math. Next fall, we would pilot the new programming, and we would evaluate it against the same set of criteria that we used to vet units of study. Then potentially next winter, we might be coming to you with a recommendation of a new ELA curriculum to adapt. And then so we're going to start PD right away. Because if I learned anything from the math implementation, the sooner you can start the PD and get teachers prepared and thinking about it, the better. So those are our next steps on that. So I have some stuff on this, but I'll take questions on.
How do you future-proof this? So, units of study, you would think that they would keep on updating it to meet standards. And the fact that you guys have to now start from scratch and they're saying that is not meeting standards, like how do you think through that for the new models?
I think it really is a very thorough review of the research that is behind these new programs. So thinking about some of the people that are the authors on the new programs and going through those reviews like Ed Reports, Curate, and the Reading League, and making sure that the body of research behind it is really strong so that it's not going to be some sort of a trend and that we can have something to point to say these are the methods that we've seen are proven to be effective and that the program that we adopt is embodying those methods and those teaching strategies and those beliefs. There's some things that kind of always go in and out of trends, like little things here and there. But I think if we get the core of the program right, then, in the future, I don't think we're going to be adopting a new program every 6 years. But if we get the first selection right, then, in 6 years, we can make tweaks, make small revisions, and kind of see where we're at.
Units of study has evolved. They have new additions out, but they're not as effective as the programs that have since started since we have this new body of research.
And units of study is Lucy Calkins, right? It's sort of a relatively controversial curriculum or approach. I don't know what the right word is. So, okay. Great to hear that we're continuing to evaluate.
And is it normal, like every 10 years there is kind of changes? I made that up. Is it 15 years? Is it, what is the normal kind of cycle for looking at ELA, looking at math? Just because it's so much work.
Yeah.
I just think the change management on this is very complex.
Exactly.
So I like your point around PD and baking that in.
So as a district, we kind of look at all of our programs as a 6-year cycle.
Okay.
But like I said, that doesn't mean that every 6 years it's going to be a different program. Some programs stick along for a long time. I think everyday math we had for 20 to 25 years. And again, teachers made some changes and adaptations. It's when it really doesn't meet that criteria anymore that I think is when you have to revisit it. And that's kind of what's happened with the units of study now.
And you can see the link between this conversation and the professional growth information that I provided. You know, Denny has done an incredible job rolling out the math curriculum and working with the math coaches and some outside consultants to make sure that that's going well in year 2. It's, you know, really making progress, and we didn't have a dip in our NCAS scores, which is phenomenal. And if he's paying all that attention to elementary math and student elementary literacy, what's happening in every other department in every other grade.
And I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear. So I know with the math, we were reviewing other programs, but in addition to every day, right, to make a choice, we are not going to stick with units of study. We are looking for a new program.
Yeah. In fact, our kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers reviewed the revised units of study and also found that didn't meet our criteria.
Okay. Great.
A good question I had is on the financial side. Does that mean everything we already have acquired over all these years is no longer relevant? And the answer is no. Right.
Well, we'll still have all the book bins.
Yeah. I mean, we've invested a lot in the level 3, the book room and sets and sets of books, but books are still books.
Books are still books.
And because the state is pushing this, there's a lot of grants available to get new material. So we're going to rely heavily on applying for those grants to supplement all that we need to get.
But presumably it would be a relatively sizable line item in the 28 budget as we look ahead to what that is, to purchase the curriculum and replace all the things in the same way that math was, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
One of the things, we were a little late with the math grant. These potential literacy grants, they sometimes pay up to 50% of the cost of all of the curriculum materials for adoption. So we had already chosen a math program and then we got the grant. But hopefully we're going to do the grant first and then choose the program, which will be helpful.
I know that we have in the past, I want to say last year, the year before, received some community emails specifically around this. So very excited that this is something that we're leaning into and really letting the science guide us. So I think it's great news.
I know, again, there was a lot of stuff in the media about Lucy Calkins, but we had to go through a process. We wanted to do it right. And this is kind of where we ended up. And it would have been terrible for our elementary educators if we tried to do these too close together. And I've told people, ELA is going to be a very, very heavy lift. Math, we kind of just dropped in the program into math blocks. This is going to be kind of reconceptualizing the daily schedule, I would guess. Which actually translates really well
right, I mean,
my last
learning is
update
changing, right? So
on our instructional time study. So as an update from what we did last year. So last year we were starting to look at the way that we're allotting our time during the day at the elementary level. So last year for 2 weeks, we had one teacher in each grade level and in each school keep track of how they were spending every single minute of their school day. These were volunteers,
that must have been a journey.
The vast majority of them said they really enjoyed the process and thought it was fun. So that's always good feedback.
Do you want to come to my office?
But the initial findings that we found last year is, obviously, this isn't surprising, there was variation between the two schools, and sometimes even between teachers within the same grade level. We know the elementary classroom, more than anything, is a very dynamic place, and teachers make decisions on the spot. Something happens at recess, and all of a sudden they need to address it with students afterwards. Maybe an SEL issue comes up, and a teacher pulls a read-aloud book. So we know that things pop up at the elementary level. One of the things that we began to see was that science and social studies are not getting as much time as we'd like them to get. Then we just had some wonderings about our technology and engineering standards, our media and literacy and AI skills development, our health frameworks, and then again making sure our students have the SEL support that they need. So the conclusion from last year's study was that we needed to study the issue more. And here we are in this year. So this year we are organizing our work around this big essential question. So how do we balance the new initiative, so our new math program, a new potential ELA program? Again, I continue to hear from staff about the growing SEL needs that our students have, wanting to have some SEL lessons and pieces throughout the day. So how do we balance all of those things along with what the state tells us we have to do, the frameworks that we have to meet, and then the existing programming we have in place? So throughout this year, we're looking at, what are the big priorities for our schools in the district? What's the best use of time during the school day to meet these goals? Are there ways to streamline time or curriculum to meet multiple goals simultaneously? So one of the things we see with the new elementary literacy programs, a lot of them have science and social studies embedded within them. So that's a way for students to be working on their reading and writing skills while still addressing science and social studies content. And how can we build a schedule that really supports all of our students, that supports our achievement and making sure that students are kind of achieving their goals, but also addressing all of the social emotional needs, all of the differentiated needs that we have. So those are the big questions we have. So this year, again, we kind of do the same thing with all these studies. So the first piece is we are looking at the research on elementary scheduling and instructional minutes, and what does that say about how to structure an elementary school day. We've begun to calculate by week, by year, how many minutes are we spending per content area. We were looking at all of the frameworks that we are required to cover and seeing the extent to which we're actually covering those. We've collected now elementary schedules from all of our comparable districts. We've been engaging in stakeholder feedback. So educators have now given some feedback on the instructional day. And then at some point we'll have a summary of those findings and some suggestions and recommendations for next steps. So that is the instructional time study. Any questions on that piece?
Any surprises from the initial to?
In starting to go through some of the feedback, like some of the things that have started to come out are some people saying that they want some more time for just play for kids, like likely structured play for students, specifically in the earlier grades. Wanting to make sure, again, that students were able to have some sort of SEL lessons or were able to address things. Sometimes just having our morning meeting and addressing issues reactively throughout the day. People would like something more proactive when we think about SEL. And again, science and social studies are the two content areas that are just not getting enough time. We usually alternate between science and social studies, so students will do a unit of science for a couple weeks, and then they'll switch to social studies. It's kind of rare that we're doing both at the same time. So we'll see how many of the frameworks we're hitting and we're not hitting. But as somebody who's lived in the social studies world, I'm clearly biased. But it's hard. And any elementary educator will tell you, like, there just are not enough minutes in the day to do everything that we want to do. And again, our kids are lively, and sometimes schedules don't go according to plan, which we get. So we're looking at other pieces. Wind block is one of the things that we're also looking at as well, making sure that we are most effectively utilizing that time. We need to provide the students with interventions, but we also want to make sure that all students are benefiting from that time block.
Thank you.
Are we seeing, I know for a while there was sort of or at least my perception was that the SEL needs were peaking for COVID, and particularly the kids who were heavily impacted in those developmental years. As more kids are entering the system, the school system, is that true? Are the SEL needs still up? Like, I'm curious if from our two schools, like, what are we seeing in there?
I think we're just seeing students who are continuing to need a little bit of support in collaboration and interacting with each other, specifically around things like group work and turn-in talks. We can't automatically assume that our students are ready to do that. We've had to kind of structure them and scaffold them a little bit more. I think some of that is the result of screen time as well, so just learning how to interact with each other a little bit. But I think just overall, this is a trend nationwide. I think that just SEL stuff can sometimes get in the way of students being in a place where they're able to learn. So I think just kids are more complex, and certainly more complex than when I started teaching. So I just think it's the evolving landscape of education. I don't think it's anything strange to Dover and Sherborn and to Massachusetts. I think it's just a nationwide thing that we're seeing.
The world is more complex, certainly, than it was 20 years ago. Or I don't, not to insinuate you've been teaching for 20 years, but, interesting. Thank you.
Anything from Nathaniel or Kimberly?
Okay, great. Up next on, go ahead. Okay. Up next on the agenda are the financial reports. Ms. Vittori.
Yes. So in your packet, you have a little bit more of a meaty warrant report since the last time we met was October. We did meet in November. So you have everything that was processed through the central office and was sent over to the town of Sherborn for payment. You also have your monthly statement as of December 5th. I chose December 5th because we posted payroll and posted a warrant. So you're getting the most up-to-date financial information that we have in our office. Again, on your monthly reports, I only put in bold what's new information. So as you can see, basically in your in-district budget, there was nothing new to report, but there is lots of bold in the out-of-district. We are seeing some changes in placements that are causing your negative variance that we had already reported in October to actually slightly go up higher. We're looking at about a $300,000 over budget with $200,000 in tuition and $100,000 in transportation. So I had mentioned that we had set aside $400,000 of circuit breaker to offset your budget that we built, but that we had some additional circuit breaker that we could help relieve any negative variances we have on your operating budget. So we did take an additional $90,000 and put it in circuit breaker, so that softens your negative variance on your operating statements down to about $200,000, knowing that we also still have some additional circuit breaker that we can utilize if we need to as we progress during the school year. I will say placement changes happen all the time, so maybe there'll be a favorable placement change that could help us. I think the circuit breaker that we have set up aside was our safety net. It would also be great if we have some to help offset fiscal year 27's budget. So we'll use it judiciously, but I wanted to go ahead and take that extra $90,000 so the numbers were looking not too scary. And we'll continue to update you on that. But just keep that in mind when we jump to the fiscal year 27 operating budget when I talk about out of district, because you can see what we're currently having, and then I actually have some projections that are increasing that. So that is an area that we're seeing a rise in cost. And then we're excited. I know I've been talking about this HVAC project just will not end for me, but we are scheduled. The ERV is like the final steps are happening this week. I'm hopeful that on Monday we're going to do our final walkthrough with our engineers and the manufacturers and the construction manager, and be ready to sign off on the project pretty close. But I think the benefits of the ERV unit that's going in the auditoriums, it should be warmer, because sometimes that can be a little chilly. So when that's up and running, that's actually producing heat. So we're not going to get the AC from that, but we're getting the heat. We're going to get some of the humidity, dehumidification when we turn into the summer. So again, I think we should just be appreciative of the town. They're the ones who stepped forward and wanted us to go ahead with something in the auditorium versus the pure HVAC unit with the AC that we were trying to do, and they were instrumental in making sure we had that funding to take care of that, knowing that you had some savings last year that we were able to segue into this project. So school money that was set aside went to school projects, and that's something we always sort of like to see happen. So that is still very exciting.
No, that's great. Oh, sorry, back to me.
Great. 26.
Is circuit breaker like emergency? Like, what's the textbook definition of?
So it's reimbursement that we get from the state over a certain threshold to help offset all districts' costs of providing out of district.
Got it. Okay.
Placements.
So is it 53 or 54,000 is the threshold?
Yeah, it goes up every year. It's around 50. So the district has to pay at least the first 54,000, and then anything after that, if it qualifies, is eligible for 75% reimbursement.
Okay.
Great. Next on the agenda are discussion items, and tonight we have the proposed change to policy ECAF, security cameras in school, and this is our first read.
Thank you. So as you know, we're updating all of our policy manuals, and we wanted to put this one in the fast lane and have you do a first read now and a second read in January. We've already updated our policy to include cameras on school grounds and in school buildings. What we'd like to add to that is cameras on our school transportation vehicles, because we are moving in the direction of piloting and then hopefully installing cameras on all of our buses. So happy to answer any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Just that I know we've been talking now for 3 years about the buses being a challenge, so I'm very excited for the pilot and to see where this goes, and very supportive and appreciative of you guys making this work. I think it'll be really helpful. So.
How does it work as far as, is it a live feed? Is it recorded, or is it kept afterwards?
It's recorded on a disc, which is kept in the camera, and then the if something happens on the bus, either the bus driver can give it directly to the school administrator, or they can ask for it, and then they'll watch it, and they're responsible for viewing it and deciding next steps.
So it'll just be as needed basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. Okay. Next we have action items, and tonight we have the proposed fiscal year 27 operating budget.
Okay, I was thinking.
One, right? I think. Did I do this right? Okay. I wrote this afternoon.
Yep.
And the proposed fiscal year 27 to 32 capital budget.
So hopefully you received your notebook and had a little time to just preview it. Again, this is our starting point for the budget. We've got several months to continue to work on it, but we are required by the town to have something in place so they can start building their budget. And so I think December 9th is their 10th is their timeline. So we're hitting that perfectly. You guys are meeting a little bit later than normal just because of the way Veterans Day hit on a Tuesday. It threw off our whole meeting schedule. So there's a lot of information in here to sort of help support the budget. In tab 1, you sort of have an overview that is sort of like the executive summary of what we're talking about. You have the town's budget guidance to review and understand the financial sort of environment that the town of Sherborn is operating under. You have the district strategy. As you know, we've talked about that tonight and how that plays into us building a budget. And you also have Pine Hills Improvement Plan, which we want to keep abreast of just in case there are funding mechanisms in there that they need in order to make movement on the things that you guys all at the building principal and the school committee approved. In section 2, you have a summary sheet that looks similar to what you're used to seeing on your monthly financial statements. And I do think this is a helpful tool to scan, because when you get into the next piece with all the numbers and all the lines, it gets a little overwhelming. And so you can always revert back to the summary, and I think that helps key you in onto places. To look at detail. I try to provide as much information as I can on these little lines as to what happened and caused any change from fiscal year 26 to 27. So keep in mind you've got 3 years of actual, you've got 23 actual, 24 actual, 25 actual. 26 we leave in as budget. You compare that to the 27 budget. But keep in mind, it's always helpful to go back and look at your statements that we've been giving you for fiscal year 26, seeing where there are variances, and most cases you're going to see that we try to address those when we did the fiscal year 27 budget. You also have a summary of staffing, which breaks out in detail sort of our personnel. I think it's helpful to have that as well. You also have a summary of our anticipated grants, and I think that we're fortunate that we're not heavily reliant on grants in today's environment, but you can see where we do get grants and where those play a part in our budget. Obviously in elementary school, I think the biggest budget driver is students. And so you have your 10-year history, and then you have 5 years worth of projections. Just for people that are new to this, we look at a 3-year rate and a 1-year rate, but we're basically looking at in-migration and out-migration as of October 1st. So seeing second grade was this at October 1st, third grade, then the next year was this. How much did it change? Mm-hmm. Those are the percentages you see up in the top. So we see growth a lot of times from one year to another. And the elementary, I think a lot of times in towns like this, that's when families are moving in. You would expect to see growth in those grades. And sometimes there's an anomaly that happens where you can see the 3-year rate for 4th grade actually it decreases a little bit. And that could have just been, I think, 1 year where it might have been a little higher, and it takes 3 years to roll that off. But we use this to sort of check out our section numbers. So at the bottom, you have, we take the largest class size from the 1-year rate and the 3-year rate to build up what we think our maximum could be. Of course, we're usually pretty good actually on this. Sometimes just not between the grades, but in total. And you can sort of see that we're going to build into the budget still 21 sections and how those play. And know that administration and central office will continue to look at those to see if there are section changes that we need to make. But you're looking with 21 sections and a projection of 403 students of a average class size around 19. We had the same number of sections this year, but a lower enrollment was an average of 18. So you see where we have capacity to grow, knowing that your class size range is 18 to 23. We're still operating on that lower end.
So 4th grade next year
is at the.
It's going to be at the max.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that we'll look and see the cohorts. Couple students moving here and there if our projections don't work, and make a change. So know that we're continuously looking at that piece.
And can you remind me, 23 is best practice, but lower than the required max? How should we be thinking about schools as a class size?
Class size. Well, so that's really a guideline that's set by the school committee. You used to have 2 class size ranges. You had a K to 3 and a 4 to 5. Your 4 to 5 used to go up to 25.
Okay.
And your K 2 was 18 to 23. So the change was that we said, let's treat all grades together. Chickering is all the same grades together, so we got rid of that higher end because that was causing the town's pressure sometimes, right? When you have 24, 25, well, you're still in your class guideline. So we made it 18 to 23 for K to 5.
For K to 5.
Yeah.
Remind me, I could probably find it in my email, but I think this 4th grade class, we've heard previous pokes and questions at those class sizes, correct?
Yes.
And we've been able to think about different ways, whether it's educational assistance or the only option is not an additional classroom, right? There are different ways
I would say that
them.
they did have an additional class 1 year that made their class size smaller. So, but we look at where, again, it's the cohort, but it seems to be that smaller class sizes are definitely more advantageous in the lower grades where the students are still learning so much.
Got it. As they get more mature, the expectations evolve, and therefore we can sustain slightly larger.
But it doesn't, we're looking at, you still have, 2nd grade at 17, and your kindergarten still at 17, so we'll look at that. But there are other means to address.
Right, because if you add a 4th teacher in, then those become quite small classes. It's right at that. Okay.
Exactly.
So something we'll keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Because I think that one definitely jumped out at me as well.
Yeah.
As being
on
the higher end for us.
For you guys now, back in the day, I was going to say that is probably the norm.
The norm, interesting.
But it's beginning that we've been a little bit spoiled, I think, and that we've been able to operate in our range, but be on the lower 18 side.
Yeah.
And 3rd grade has 4 this year.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
They do. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Is there,
No, you go.
Is there any quantitative data to be able to say when we go down to a 19 or a 17 that there's just better outcomes or anything like that?
I don't think that.
No.
I don't think there's research for that.
No, there isn't. That's not a tipping point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And am I looking at this right? Is the projection that the kindergarten years are going substantially down, or am I looking at that wrong in the gray?
So in the gray, we usually use the 3-year average.
Okay.
70, we actually did not use the 3-year average for that 70 because we already know there is a bump in the kindergarten. So our 3-year average would have been in the 50s. But knowing, because if we hadn't recognized that 70, we wouldn't have moved a kindergarten up to 4 sections. So based on the census they have from the town and the feel they're getting from registrations right now, they're like in the 60s somewhere.
Oh, wow. So they're already over what the 3-year projection would have been.
Yes.
Interesting.
But the kindergarten class is something hard to do the projections on because,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Because I think last year at Chickering, their census was like 58 and ended up with 70 something.
Interesting.
So kindergarten is one of those that it's hard to really know. So we'll do our 3-year average, but we also then tend to look at the census information that the school's given by the towns to see. Again, that's not complete. Families move in, don't tell us families move right.
And that's such a good motivator to, if you're about to make a move, the summer before your kid starts kindergarten, there's a lot of drive to make that happen.
And on the census too, know that not everyone sends their kindergartners we never know that fluctuation. So I don't think we're going to be over 70. We're probably going to be under 70. But we use 70 just because it seemed to be a good placeholder for now. And just because of the experience that we had at Chickering last year, I'm like, let's just go a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So that's what needed an extra section.
That's where we had to put
for that kindergarten. Yeah, because obviously that is incoming first year. You want to have a strong basis, so we do tend to try to have those on.
So it ends up on the lower side. Would it go down to 3? And then there's a teacher for the.
I don't know if it would go down low enough, but we'll see.
Okay.
I think a lot of parents would have to decide not to send their child for us to go.
You're already at the point where you would need.
Yeah, I mean, we could again. You have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Usually the trend is we have more kindergartners arrive than we expected rather than fewer. Yeah.
And so I'm going to stop there because that's the in-district, and we're really going to talk about the budget in 2 pieces tonight, right? So if we go back to your in-district and you look on tab 1, there is a good summary, the top part, where you come to the in-district budget of the summary operating expense page. Yeah. So you can see that, because the operating budget is something that's staying, right? Out of district is moving, getting wacky on us, but the in-district is staying the same. So you can see that we're looking at about $7.6 million. It's a 4.43% increase. Keep in mind that we usually talk a lot about salaries, where we're, as Beth thanked you guys for being on the negotiations committee, we currently don't have any contracts for fiscal year 27. So we have to put a contractual reserve into the budget to accommodate salary increases for every employee in the district. So this is covering every employee in the district. We put it under legal services under school committee, so that's why you see a big jump in your other educational. That's where that number sits.
But we're just parking it there for now.
That's just where we're parking it for now. So that is, but if you look, that's the only budget increase we're basically asking for are the salaries that we need to pay all of our employees. And that sort of then goes right in line with the town's guidance that said level funding for whatever you have, knowing that you can't level fund your salaries.
Yeah.
Right.
So there will be another sheet I'll show you where you can just see all the zeros that we have, and the only increases are 3 places where we had 2 salaries being one of them. It gives you a good snapshot of your base of your salaries then so we move everyone over who's currently an employee at their fiscal year 26 salary into the 27 budget. But keep in mind, when you compare a fiscal year 26 budget to 27, obviously not every person's the same person, right? And so we do have a negative impact to our base number, which is good. I will say the big piece of that negative impact that we are looking at a $20,000 decrease is that because now both schools are now on a normal basis doing 1 pre-K, we're starting to take a piece of our pre-K tuitions to help offset the costs of the teacher. We already do that for EAs, like every pre-K class has 2 EAs, one's in the operating budget, one's in pre-K revolving. We always put the second educator for that second classroom completely in the pre-K revolving. Now that we're basically standardized to 1 and 1, both elementaries we've taken, I think Sherborn actually took 30,000 of your pre-K educator, and we're funding that through the revolving fund. So that's helping to offset the operating, which is a big piece of here.
Do we have any view on retirement yet?
We don't really bring any retirement into the budgetary play until after February.
So then it's a tailwind for us, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
we'll know
preliminary
before the
idea.
budgets. We'll know before the budget's finalized, but
Is it good?
they have an
What are we gonna
opportunity.
get?
We have a
Cost
few that are
savings?
thinking
I
of
mean,
it, but
nothing
we're
is
waiting
good.
for
We'll miss
confirmation,
them
yes.
and all of that,
Right,
but yeah.
right, but that does help.
It certainly helps from a
Right.
cost perspective.
And so if you look at if you go to then tab 2 and look at the first page where it summarizes all your function codes, you can see the pluses and minuses in salaries. And again, that's where we've had changes in staffing. But if you look at your expenditures, you can see all the zeros. So the large number is our salary reserve. Then we had to pick up a little bit in guidance because we are adding some new programs. But Interface is that counseling service that we're doing as a district. We got a really discounted price the first year, but it is continuing. We're having enough inquiries and evaluations that our fees going up, and we share that across all 3 schools. So we had to actually increase the guidance budget. And then utilities. I have no control over utilities, and so you'll see that we're negative in utilities, so I have to try to make that up a little bit. So everything else, 0, 0, 0, 0. We're taking what we have and adapting to what we need. So I do feel like that we build this budget as close to town guidance as we can.
So question, going back to what Denny presented before, I can't remember if that was a potential we'll allow in 27. Will that need to be a part of this, where some of maybe these zeros are for, I don't know if it's textbooks or
So
instructional?
we have capacity in the current budget to help Denny for a pilot program for ELA. The other beneficial grant that Sherborn has is our REAP grant, which is based a rural grant based on literacy. We have capacity to dip into that grant to also help fund pilot materials for the ELA program.
And where would the dollars for the curriculum, whatever we end up doing with the curriculum solution for Pine Hill, come from?
That's where other changes that we may be presenting in January free up some dollars.
Got it.
So that we can.
Okay.
So we'll be working within these dollars.
Within these dollars. Those would not be incremental. We would be moving things
Our
around
goal is
to
to
fund
work
things.
within this budget.
Okay.
In all fairness to both towns, we feel
Yeah,
like
of course.
that is our responsibility. So that's what we hope to do.
Okay.
Any questions on the in-district? Again, you can go look at all the detail pages, look at the staffing, you've got your enrollment. And as you look and you have any questions, you can send them to Becca, and Becca, you can send them to me, and I can make sure that we get them addressed at the next meeting.
That sounds great.
And again, we're only in the beginning of the fourth month of the new school year, so it's really hard to be thinking about next school year because we really don't know how this year's going to turn out. So as the months progress, we know more, but we try to come out with sort of a high water mark so the towns at least have a starting point. And so, that's our typical. That's where we have some flexibility. If we do have retirements, or if we have changes in enrollment, or we have changes in out of district, a lot can happen that can change.
Yeah.
Version 2, potentially version 3.0. So flipping over and looking at the out of district. So this is the change in accounting that we've been talking about since the fall, where the Department of Ed has asked us to account for our out of district placements and cost activity differently. In the regional agreement right now, if you sort of read it and how this district these 3 districts have always operated, is that if you are a Sherborn resident and you go to an out of district placement, all your costs sit in the Sherborn school budget. Mm-hmm. Same with Dover. All your costs sit in the Dover school budget. But Department of Ed is saying that's really not saying the complete story, because all those students that are age 6th grade up to 22, we're not putting their activity in the right place. And so it does skew our district profiles, which I will say when I was back on school committee, I realized that, but they said it is what it is. But something came to light that made them look deeper at this and ask us to account for it differently. So based on that, the towns are still having the same financial responsibility. It's just how it's being reflected in the 3 budget. So nothing's changing from that perspective. So we presented the region budget last week. And so they have their in-district regional assessment, but now each town has another line item that says portion, your net cost for out of district in Sherborn and net cost of out of district from Dover. So it's not allocated based on any kind of census. It's just based on the students themselves and where they live. Home address. And so it will cause us here at the region to sort of have to create some new funds because we'll have to separate the accounting for the Dover out of district and the Dover circuit breaker at the region level, and same with the Sherborn piece of it. So this is the year that we sort of have to just make that break. The budgets in all 3 look a little wacky because of what's happening. So
and those would be a significant number of dollars coming out. Not that we were benefiting anything, but just from a line item perspective,
from a line item
out of ours into the region.
Sherborn and Dover had significant numbers come out of their budgets that are now going up to the region.
It's a more accurate reflection of where the student. Okay.
And I totally agree that that's the right way to do. And if you read the regional agreement to the letter, it says that the towns are responsible for the net costs, not for all costs. And the region still should be accounting for all that activity up at that level. So just so you know, all the reimbursement that we get from the state from those placements actually comes to the region. Then I have to go and figure out how much is Dover, how much is Sherborn, we have to cut checks. Or do wires.
It's a little bit of accounting gymnastics.
Right, which we'll still have to do that, but it will just stay within our bank account versus having to go out. So looking at Sherborn's, you can see that if we just look at your budget, it's about a $694,000 decrease.
Right.
But don't get all excited because all that money plus is built into the region's budget. So from a town perspective. So if you go to tab 4, you can sort of see where we did the total budget for town of Sherborn, pre-K to 22, and then broke out what was in pre-K through 5 and what was in 6 to age 22. So you can see the 2 pieces. But all in, the town of Sherborn is seeing an increase from 26 to 27 of $400,000. So I know that's going to be an issue that we're going to have to try to solve financially.
And that's because of incremental student needs.
Yeah.
Or changing
placements.
Student needs.
We already know we have one extra placement, and it's different placements than what we originally thought.
Okay.
Yeah,
which just for everybody, like this happens, right? Like there's no way we know it's based on student need. It evolves from month to month, year to year. So. Exactly,
and it's something we're legally responsible for. There's nothing we can do. We work really hard. I think one of the benefits I said in the executive summary was that a couple of your students are just over at Chickering. That's a really low cost, great opportunity. They're staying within our school district, but we have that in-district special ed program that they're able to go to. Right. But from a town of Sherborn accounting standpoint, they're treated as an out-of-district student. So that number is in your and basically is your elementary placements that you're seeing, where you have got the 4 placements. And then, so Sherborn has always used a big part of their circuit breaker reimbursement to offset the operating. So we'll continue to do that, but now we have to take that circuit breaker and we lose that flexibility because your school committee now doesn't have a whole lot of money. It's all sitting at the region. So that's why I'm hoping that we can maybe have some changes in placements or some favorable budget, which you can see our budget's already pretty tight, so that we can use some of that circuit breaker reserve that we have to offset Sherborn's piece of the region.
Okay.
So that is still to come. And like this again, I could come back in a month and this will have changed.
Right.
So this is the best pieces of information that we have right now.
Okay.
In your packet too, and I hadn't had time to do this for the region, so they'll get this. But the normal schedule that you're used to seeing, where it says where all the placements are by grade, and is the page right things. Yeah. And sort of the type of school they go to. So you can see at the elementary, you've got some big money in the tuition mass public, that's really the sharing. And I think there's one other place I think we do some. And then, you can see we've got tuition to non-public and then to collaborative. Collaborative is usually the most financially cost-effective place to send. It's usually collaboratives that we're involved with or other collaboratives. They're still the best bargain, I think, in out-of-district placement. So the fact that we've got a good chunk of our students there shows us that our special ed department are placing students in the most least cost-effective environment, but it makes sense, and that's usually where we look first. If kids do it in-house, look at other mass public programs, then collaborative. The non-public is usually the last alternative that you want to look at, just because it's so much more expensive.
And if you remember Kate McCarthy, the Director of Student Services presentation last year, the number of students that we're sending out of district has decreased significantly.
Yeah.
So this could look a lot different if they weren't being educated within our walls.
Right. Which, if I recall, this was before I was on the committee, but was a very intentional choice that we as a district wanted to make to support students, keep them in classroom as much as possible, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So we have made an investment, and we, language-based students used to be a disability that we had a lot of placements to, and we've created now the K-12 so we can keep them in. And our new Connections program was building up to be a K-12, which we have students now, I think, in definitely I think all the way up to the high school. So, all those students would be out of district if we didn't have those programs. So it's definitely, when you see numbers like this, you can see why it's worth it for us to create a classroom here if 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 kids are going to be in it versus what a placement costs. Because I will tell you, on top of that, it's the transportation. That is another huge piece, because you're transporting 1 to 2 students. You're not putting them on a school bus with 40 to 60 students. So obviously we're seeing an increase as well in our transportation, because with additional placements actually come additional costs for transportation. Yep.
So, and just so I understand, I don't mean to belabor.
Yeah,
so
no.
The money's the same, roughly, but it's going to the region. So the town's now, but the town's still responsible for the payment.
So the town's going to pay us. The town's going to pay the region. So we're going to assess the town.
Right.
We're going to pay it. We're going to process all the bills through the region, but we're still not paying for it. Sherborn's paying.
The bill to Sherborn is the same. It's just where they're sending the checks. The check to the region is going to be larger now than the check.
Oh, so the
Pineville.
increase has nothing to do with that change. The increase is because of more placements.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So the formula of what we're doing is not changing.
Got it.
For the town of Sherborn, it's just where. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But unfortunately, and I will say for Sherborn, this is a fairly large increase.
Definitely.
From what I've seen, we've usually been able to try. It's usually Dover that has larger swings, but it's just the nature of the students that we're encountering today. So then, therefore, the budget that you'll be approving tonight is the $8,060,891, which is comprised of all the costs you need to operate Pineville and the costs that you need to send the pre-K through 5th grade students to another district place.
Okay. And we vote on this one on its own, correct? It's not expense. Okay, great. I guess before we move into a vote, I know we had a chance to ask a lot of questions in the room. Nathaniel, Kimberly, any questions on your end? If not, Nathaniel, just to prep you, we'll do a roll call vote. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the proposed fiscal year 27 operating budget V1? Right? And the proposed fiscal year, did we do the capital budget?
No,
not yet. Okay.
2 separate votes.
Perfect, thank you. The fiscal year 27 operating budget V1.
Maya Cadella, so moved.
May I have a second?
No, I'll find out a second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, then we will do a roll call vote. So Nathaniel, how do you vote?
Are you on mute?
You might be on mute. Well, you're definitely on mute.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay. Bill Alfano, how do you vote?
Yay.
Kate Manzolini?
Yay.
Becca Hammond, yay. Megan Cadiella?
Yay.
Okay. The motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. And then again, just keep your questions coming. We're going to make sure we. Okay, so then the last part we have is your capital budget for fiscal year 27. And the one project, and it sort of was brought to us over the summer from the town. So if anyone was attending sort of the town meetings, they heard Sean Colleen talk about some of the water system improvements they're doing. I think town hall is being done right now. Some of this is based on the water testing and the PFAS and just some of the needs that are happening in the world of public water. Pine Hill has now entered into that arena with needing a water upgrade, mainly to treat the water, but also we actually have a very large, it looks like a submersible submarine in the boiler room at Pine Hill. That is our potable water tank. So that's where the well fills water up and then that water is dispersed in the building. We keep an eye on it. We've had a camera go in and check the inside. So it's on our capital plan to maintain. But this new proposal is actually to take that out, put a much smaller capacity water tank in with the water treatment system built into that. So this is a project that's sort of being spearheaded through the Department of DPW, but it is a school committee project, so Sean has brought us into it. I will be honest, I'm not fully vetted in the mechanics of this. The Sherborn Select Board did approve out of their reserve, I think about $40,000 to do the design and bid process, so that's happening right now. Sean's been keeping us up to date, but they've given us a placeholder of $300,000 to put into your capital request for next year to cover anticipated. By the time this gets final approved for the town, they will actually have a bid and know what the amount's going to be. So they feel comfortable that won't exceed the $300,000. But that's why I thought we weren't going to have any capital projects for Pine Hill, and then this came along. So
is it failing? Like something wrong with it?
No, it's not really failing. We don't have. It's more future, looking at the future and what the demands are going to be. I know people have heard a lot about PFAS. That keep changing the PFAS. So
what is the meet legal requirement portion? That little floor.
Oh well, because I think I put 4 in there, thinking of sort of the water standards. The PFAS,
got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you say it was going to be a smaller tank?
It is, because we keep way more capacity in that than we need. Like you think about your hot water heater, right? So they can put a much smaller. Actually, we're welcome the room in the boiler room, the extra space.
We're gonna make it a classroom.
Could be a coach's
office.
But it's more like up to the 20th century. Probably versus the 21st century.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I was like, "What the heck is this?" I mean, I'll have to take a picture.
It looks like a submarine.
I definitely want to see it.
Yeah, that's a big.
I know, right?
It's wrapped like in this white stuff. It's pretty.
I guess it does beg the question of what happens to Pine Hill. I don't want to ask it, but
well, and that's my more general discussion that we have with sort of the placement on, because Town of Sherborn requests a 6-year capital plan, right?
Yeah.
So the things that are included on your 6-year right now are sort of the key pieces of the building that you would be required to at some point to do. So we've been pushing the roof coverings bit. At this point, we don't have any issues. Onsite Insight flags it at like year 20. We usually get like 30 plus years out, right? So we just keep having that there as a thought, but kicking it down. So the town administrator did reach out to us when we were talking about the capital plan and asked where we thought we were with looking at, what is the next, what does Pine Hill future look like? We sort of said we'd like to pause that to the spring when we get through the budget, but also too, we just made a huge investment in HVAC equipment in that building. So let's let that get up and running, see where we are. Fortunately, there's not a lot of work that we need to do, so I think we do have some time.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we probably would do if we sort of had a vision of what if we were going to stay there is like bathroom renovations, things like that, but things that aren't really impacting necessarily the operational mechanics. As you know, the building assessment study that we had, the architectural firm did, said that the building has good bones, good systems.
Yeah.
And so we're operating in a good place. It might not just be the style and design that everyone wants, but I think that gives us some time to work on this. And we started the process. I think, again, with having only us and we do everything else, you can almost have a whole other office staff just to do
perspective,
that, right? So it is on the horizon to kick more of a task force off. But it sort of set the stage for me to explain this is why your capital plan looks like this. We had actually anticipated having 0 for 27 because of the money that we just put in from the HVAC within this project came along.
Okay.
So we will look for your approval for the 6-year plan, knowing that really the price tag is sitting in the fiscal year 27 is what the town will build into their plan.
And while the operating budget is a V1 and very much subject to change, we feel pretty good. This is the capital.
Well, when we get the bid, we might have you read.
Got it. Okay, so there might be some tweaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead. 300K will come from where?
It'll be like a school committee request, but it'll come from the town.
It'll come from the town.
So however they fund their capital projects, borrow free cash.
Got it.
That'll just be part of their town-wide capital request. If you think about all the different departments that present, this will be hopefully
one of
Shirley
those.
will present this.
Right.
I thought you did a great job. Well done.
They want us to do it, though.
It really fits for Pine Hill, so it more appropriately needs to sit in your bucket to request from the school committee.
But just on the comment Megan made, presumably since this is coming from the town, it won't be a controversial conversation. They want us to. We're very aligned.
Yeah, okay. And I think that Sean had set the stage last year at multiple of the all-day Saturday and the town meeting and presenting. This is all different stages that are coming down the pike, and Pine Hill is one of those.
Okay, great. That's good. All right. We'll do another roll call. May I have a motion to approve the proposed fiscal year 27 to fiscal year 32 capital budget?
Mayor Cadiella, so moved.
May I have a second?
Kate Mansell.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I was looking down.
I know it's always the like you wait. Any further discussion? All right. We'll do another roll call vote. So Nathaniel, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Okay. Megan Cadiella?
Aye.
Becca Hammond, aye. Kate Manzolini?
Aye.
Bill Alfano?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries.
And your next meeting, I'll probably have more of the specs to better understand this, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
I love the fact you said at this point, Sean knows more about it. By the time this project is done, you're going to know everything about it.
So,
You might be the one installing.
Yeah, right?
Just like the turf field.
All right, next on the agenda are the consent items. We actually only have one, so not much bang for the buck here, but Ms. Vittori or Superintendent McCoy, would you like to speak to any of these items? There's not much to say.
The consent is just the approval of minutes.
Just
right?
the minutes, yeah.
Yeah, and then the rest is reading material.
Okay.
So you can see it's the collaboratives, right? We talked about the collaboratives
Yeah.
tonight, so you can sort of see some insight into both the ones that we're actually members of.
Excellent. Okay, so the consent item is approval of the minutes from October 14th of 2025. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Bill Alfano, motion to approve.
Love it. May I have a second?
Kate Manzolini, second.
Nice. Okay. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Nathaniel, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bill Alfano.
Aye.
Kate Manzolini.
Aye.
Becca Hammond, aye. Megan Cadiella.
Aye.
Excellent. The motion carries. In your package, you'll find informational items on a series of informational items, the Dover minutes, the regional minutes, as well as the collaboratives that Don just mentioned. And our next meeting is on Tuesday, February 3rd at 5:30 p.m. So just FYI, that's different. Is there anything anyone wishes to add to the agenda as of now?
Just look, one thing I forgot to mention, I put all the dates, I think in that opening memo of like key dates with the town. So pencil those in.
Yes.
February 3rd timing is so that you can vote on a version 3.0 because Beth and I will meet with the Sherborn Advisory the next week. So we need to have your version 2.0 ready for that. So that's what we usually try to do.
And just a reminder, we have a joint meeting in January, so we will be together with the other two committees in January.
That's right. And if there's anything that comes to mind to add to the agenda between now and then, just send me an email. And our meeting has come to an end, and it is now 7:49 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor Cadiella. Go ahead.
So close.
Go ahead. Do it.
May I have a second?
Mayor Cadiella, second.
Excellent. And Nathaniel, how do you vote on the motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Bill Alfano?
Aye.
Kate Manzolini?
Aye.
Becca Hammond, aye. Maggie Cadiella?
Aye.
Excellent. The motion carries. We are adjourned.